Okie dokie. Welcome, everybody, to the Quadrant Community Call of Tuesday, August the 6th. I think we're a little bit less people due to holidays. Some people, like Craig, couldn't make it for other reasons. And I also found out when I was preparing this call that I didn't put up last week's call. So that's right now being processed in YouTube. And I have to edit it still. And then we can start with this one. Let's just start at the start. David, you want to talk about the steering committee? Off you go.
Yeah. So steering committee. Yeah. Let me go back a couple of steps here and give a little bit of context. So recently, Kuadrant was accepted into the CNCF sandbox projects, and there's a big long checklist of things that they expected you to do. I think we're through practically everything now. One of those was about starting to establish governance, and I think that's an area that we've kind of been fairly I'd say ad hoc to a degree, but things are working. So that's the important thing. And so I created a PR, not the one linked here, but I had a previous PR to our governance repo to try and capture how, say, some roles are currently defined, who's in those roles, and got some initial discussion on that. So the idea of like what's a member of the Quadrant project was pretty much just someone who has access to the repos on GitHub right now. And there were also some component specific maintainers, and they were kind of some we'll say subject matter experts, and they had some extra permissions on some repos. So DNS being an example where, say, Craig, Phil, and Mike might have some additional permissions there. So I was trying to document that, and got some initial discussions going with Guy and with Jason, and one of the things I included was like a de facto project lead. So I kind of just laid it out. Well, here's the way I think I see it, as in here's a list of like 4 people that I think are de facto project leads. They kind of make the decisions ultimately for the project, like the goals of the project, the scope of it, roadmap decisions. It tends to be these people that we look to making those decisions. But Jason had a good point that maybe instead of just calling this out, maybe we should go kind of slightly more official route. Maybe we should be electing these or something like that. So since then, I closed that PR and opened this one here. And this is from a template from CNCF. And there's a lot in this, the idea of a steering committee. And after some recent conversations, and I think this might be going a little too far the other direction for us at this point. So there's lots of discussion that could be happening here. So I'll kind of summarize it why I think this is going a bit too far the other way. The main thing is steering committee is meant to be kind of members from different organizations that are elected and kind of steer the project in a way that's not kind of heavily influenced by one particular company, but to do have responsibilities like project leads, such as setting goals, scope of the project, roadmap, that kind of thing. So I'm thinking there might end up being another PR that supersedes this for how we may want to do things for now. So I do think it's important to say, kind of have some formal process around project leads and who they are, how they got elected. That way, when people come in from the community, they can see, oh, those are the people that are kind of making the decisions, not the technical decisions, the other decisions, the other kind of project scope and goals decisions. And also people on the project already could potentially see, oh, there's a path for me to become a project lead in future as well. And there's the path going from like a member or a contributor to a maintainer to someone who could self-nominate or be nominated to be a project lead and then be voted in, that kind of thing. So kind of feeling around this area and seeing what are people's thoughts. Do we think this is kind of a direction we want to go? So with all that context, I'll kind of hold there for any questions people have or any discussion topics.
am I right to think that this is mostly meant for the situation where there are multiple companies trying to get steer an open source project, and it's not super relevant at this moment for us? Or would that
So
be
there's a section in the template where it specifically calls out, like if you go at, like, say, five members of this committee, you should aim to not have more than 2 people from the same company. So straight away we're having to modify that to say, well, actually, this doesn't make sense for us. We can't abide by that. So it brings into question, well, what's the reasoning for that, and what else in that template doesn't make sense now because of that. So that's what's making me hesitant that we're not ready for this this kind of level of steering yet.
Yeah, because my next question, sorry, would be like the other option would just be to not do this at all. Like we can still have governance without a steering committee, right? At this moment in time.
Yeah.
Did I hear my name? And oh, go ahead. So a few days ago, I remember that it was suggested in the context of the so-called areas of Kuadrant, areas of the project that we are basically organizing the work and the features that we're working on to be somehow formalized or more structured or at least communicated in the upstream. So where am I heading with this, right? I was thinking, is this something that could be used also for the definition of the steering committee? I'm thinking, would it make sense that the leaders of those areas to also be the ones at the moment in the steering committee, or the steering committee needs to be something independent from the areas?
So from kind of reading the steering committee template and doing a little bit of reading of how other committees might do things, my understanding is this initial kind of committee or group. I want to say project leads, just to kind of keep it a bit more relatable to how we work now. This initial group, their responsibilities wouldn't kind of go into the technical implementation side of things. However, if say for example, Alex said that, hey, I think we should have an area for rate limiting, and puts that to the project leads. Project leads then kind of at their next, well, they can do it then if they want, but at their next weekly meeting or whatever they have, they may decide amongst themselves, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's do that. Let's have an area, if that's what you want to call it, or it could be a working group, or it could be a technical committee or a SIG, whatever you want to call it, as long as it's documented what it means. They decide that, okay, that goes ahead, and here are the rules for that kind of thing, that kind of area. So they're making those kind of decisions, and they decide who's in that group as well. So they could pull in SMEs or whatever. So then within that area or that group, they can make all the decisions they want, and ultimately they like report back to the project leads.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Thanks for explaining that, David. If we made the leaders of the areas, the members of the steering committee, then that means who would decide if we need new areas or if we need to modify the structure of areas. Maybe we would need a committee to decide on the areas, hence the existence of the steering committee in the first place. Makes total sense. Thank you.
Just to your point, Alex, in the chat there. So it does lay the foundation for moving away from that, though. Like, how would company XYZ even participate and join? There's a value statement towards being open for participation. Yeah, big time. So I see this as being a big way of kind of opening the doors and allowing people to see how they could get into the community and hold positions of power, if you want to put it that way.
So maybe we could even say, like, let's say it could be 5 people, and we only fill in 2 people from Kuadrant, and we leave the other dots open for your organization? Or is that too inviting?
I don't know. It's up to us to decide. That being said, when we kind of are happy with a draft of this model, we can bring in, say, Josh Burkus, who's a member of CNCF, who apparently knows a lot about governance, and get him to give it a once over. So we have that option to bring him in at the right point of time and see, hey, does this make sense? Is this something you've seen in other projects? So yeah, Thomas, if you wanted to suggest that, like the PR is there, you can comment on that section of it and say, this could be a way we do it. I don't see any issue with suggestions like that. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Nobody else? Anything on the subject? I think so. And there are no other agenda topics. So next one would be roundtable and demos. We did it last week. I got some positive feedback on it. Just to like last week, we somehow skipped the interns. Like let's not skip anybody. Like everybody on the call has something to say. That's like, so the idea is like a noticeable thing you did last week for the Kuadrant project, right? Only one thing. It's not a stand up. It's just like something, like one thing, and let's not skip anybody. If you have nothing to say, just give the next person the word. And then I'm gonna look. Okay, I'm just going to actually I guess start myself, right? Another question, just right after you say it, also write it somewhere in this meeting, write it down yourself, because I'll try to put things there, but I might not be able to keep up. Okay, I didn't prepare myself, so I have to come up with something right now in this moment. That's a good one. What shall I name? I think I've been mostly busy with, as always, as a manager, just as things surrounding the project, try to make life easier, but that's not concrete enough. Okay, I think I had my time. I have nothing concrete to say, so I'm going to just skip and give it to the other manager, Paul, because you're in my top left. You want to say something?
Nothing with respect to the community, at least, Thomas. Nothing to share of note. I'll put the next person. Guy,
yes.
You want to go ahead?
Sure. I had a kind of a short week last week, but no surprises here. Working on the policy machinery. Making progress on the controller part. And next one, because I see him on my screen, Maxim.
Right. So for me, just nothing special. No updates. Sorry.
I'll go next. So yeah, it's I think it was last week, but there's 2 RFCs in flight. One that Rachel's been leading, and I've been kind of helping out or commenting on a little bit around the observability CR. So it's still open. And the other RFC is around this gateway metrics exporter. I think that has approval from at least one person. But if anyone else is interested in the metrics side of things, you can have a look at that RFC.
I can jump in if you want, if nobody else wants to go first. So I did some study and thinking and writing around AI or LLM gateways and some of the functionality that seems to be emerging in that space, and wrote a doc on that, which we can discuss maybe at some point in the future. And then I started to generalize some of those ideas about things that could be done in Kuadrant and Kuadrant policies for specific types of workloads that are behind specific protocols. So There's things from everything from gRPC to GraphQL to AI, LLMs, and event queues and things like that. So may require in opening bodies and inspecting bodies and adding metadata and things via filters in order to be able to write policies to act on information that's inside the requests, but seems to be a user need related to some of that at least. And so we'll explore that with caution. Happy to share docs to people and discuss here or one-to-one.
I can go next. So from my side, the first pre-release for the Quadrant operator Helm chart, it's out there. A couple of things that we need to document in terms of the installation process. Many dependencies that need to be installed like before, prior installing the actual Quadrant chart. And on the other hand, diving into external authorization within the WASM shim. Kevin, you want to go next?
Yeah. So for me, I have a PR up for adding like more gateway API kind of wrappers for the policy machinery. As part of that PR, I added like the linking functions for like the new root kind types. I'm not too sure what's meant to do it, but I added it as part of it. I was thinking on, well, as part of the PR, I added like this, the namespace as a targetable wrapper, but I didn't add any linking function because I think this is probably a special type that needs more deeper consideration because in terms of the hierarchy and stuff. But yeah, the PR is up for review anyway. So that's me. Adam, do you want to go next?
Sure. So yeah, so I was starting to look at the external auth and WASM stuff with Diddy and having some conversations with Alex and Guy on that. So that's me. Evan, do you want to go next?
Sure. So for myself, I guess I'm still working on version commit hash implementation across the operators in Quadrant. And so yeah, that'll probably be ongoing until the end of my internship at the end of August. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, I can continue. I finished automation for limitador and Quadrant standalone Autorino, limitador, and both of them for Quadrant for tracing and metrics. And I'm not sure who can go next.
Yeah, I can. So I did some testing with all the data stores for limitador. So far, we have one candidate. That's the Dragonfly one. It checks almost all the boxes. One command is missing, but maybe I'll implement it. Maybe not. I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure I like that license, so I'll think about it. And then I'm investigating the cell stuff, mostly from the auth config perspective. So we identified like 3 big use cases for cell. I'm gonna make proposals with what that would look like inside the auth config, and then probably, I guess, open an RC for how to generalize the patterns across our policies. That's me.
I can go next. So last week I was mainly working on refactoring the ORC to take in a lot of suggestions and changes. So that is now changed to hopefully the way we want to go going forward. Yeah, so that was the main thing. And then the console plugin stuff as well.
Something you want to add, Stefan? Stephen?
No, I don't have anything community related this week. Thanks.
I think we have everything. Everybody, no? Yes. Okay. Let's move on. Thank you, everybody. No demos. And I had a look at the board. One thing that I saw was that there's still many areas. So if you go to the project, and then I think it's the backlog view that makes that easy to see. You can click by area and then see for the issues that are there, if they're already planned in an iteration. I saw that like most of them, most areas don't have any issue that is like planned for the current iteration, but I think some of them are in progress. So it's probably just like it's not reflecting reality. I just want to ask everybody, you know, it would be good because then we have kind of an idea what we're going to be shipping this at the end of this iteration in the next upstream release. And then with that said, I'm not sure if there are any specific blockers questions around issues that we're working on during this iteration that people want to talk about. And that's a no. Never ask open questions in a...
Do you want to add a link to those views about the board, Thomas? Could you do that to show it's...
Yeah, I will do that. I will add it in the doc.
Yeah, the call to action there for folks to...
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah. Last point on the agenda, community engagement initiatives. And there was twice this week already, 2 days, 2 talks accepted from proposals by Guy. Both will be on auth. First one is KCD Porto, and the other one is DevOps Barcelona. That second one conflicts with DevCon, with KubeCon in October. So we'll see how we organize that. But we have some time.
November.
So that's super good news, Guy. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, we're still waiting for the replies on the other ones. If you follow the link that Thomas shared in the doc, you will find a table right on Slack where you can track, all the submissions myself and also Raul sent a couple weeks ago. And so we have talks in auth, specifically on auth, on other ones on more generic talks about policies, where we want to be able to cover more of Kuadrant overall. And yeah, so fingers crossed, we're gonna have yet more approvals soon. And as Thomas said, that one here in Barcelona, DevOps, it does clash with KubeCon. So if we are lucky enough, to get accepted also at KubeCon, where we also have a couple talks submitted, then we may need, to find a way to divide and conquer here. So maybe somebody else can pick one of those, so I can attend the other. But that's it. Let's wait until it happens.
Thanks. Okay, that's all official agenda stuff. Anybody has any questions, remarks? Well, then we're done. Have a good day, everybody. See you next week. I'll post it as soon as I can, this one. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Thomas.